Oh, what is going on, everybody? Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
If that's Janelle backing up a truck right now, so no worries. We're we're good. No, but guys, welcome into another Rundown Monday. Last week was a lot of fun. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our first episode, Good Sex. Definitely make sure that you go and check that episode out. And today, guys, we're just going to keep things going. We have the blessing, actually, of having somebody submit a video to us today that we're going to jump into. And the question for today is, let me bring that up. And drum roll, bing. Are you emotionally intelligent? And this is definitely something that we've discussed on the show before, EQ. I think in this new I don't know if it necessarily say like millennials or anything that, but I definitely feel like as a whole, the world is moving into a place where things like that, those type of questions are coming up. Finding out your emotional quotient, another way of looking at that topic. And today it will not just be Janelle and I again jumping into that. We're going to be continuing this stream of reviewing videos. And today we have the amazing blessing of listening to Cassandra Worthy. She did a sit down with Big Think, and she specifically discussed this topic. So we're going to jump into that, and you guys are going to be able to, with us live or on the recording anyway, with us, be able to see this content. And please drop your comments in the chat below as Janelle and I go through this ourselves. So let's jump into today's audio. Are you emotionally intelligent?
Emotions don't turn off just because I've walked through the door of work or because I've turned my laptop on and I'm in a business setting. There's a phenomenon that I write about in my book called emotional contagion. We can literally catch the emotions of those of us. And I'm sure you probably have experienced something like this. You're connecting with a peer or a colleague who's feeling down. And before you know it, you start feeling that same emotion. And the same can happen for someone who's really upbeat, really positive. After you finish engaging with them, you just feel high and maybe you can't explain it. We literally can catch the emotional energy of another. I'm Cassandra Worthy. I'm a speaker and founder and CEO of Change Enthusiasm Global. And I'm the author of Change Enthusiasm: How to Harness the Power of Emotion for Leadership and Success. Emotion actually travels faster than rational thought. And so when you're experiencing a big change, like being given a new manager, like your business being acquired by another company, there's actually an emotional response that happens first. And the first things that we typically face are what I call the signal emotions of change. And those are fear, frustration, anger, anxiety, and grief. And I feel too often we are taught or we have learned to suppress those emotions, to ignore them, especially in the business world, in the professional setting, because the change has to happen. You got to get through it. So let go of those emotions and just grit your teeth and bear it. And so it's so important that we are in tune to recognize those emotions because they're very powerful. When we're fueled purely by those signal emotions, we do and we say things that we often regret. And I know that either you yourself or you've experienced folks around you who have acted in anger, who have acted in rage, and that take you into that mental downward spiral. So as I think about the power of choice and I think about our emotional energy, the geek in me always comes out. And I think about the first law of thermodynamics, and it talks about energy, that it can neither be created nor destroyed. Rather, it can either be transferred, transformed, or conserved. So if you apply that to our emotional energy, with us being the closed system, we can conserve our energy, holding it in, suppressing it, and then it manifesting in all types of other physical ailments like higher blood pressure, inability to sleep, like driving us to the bar and wanting to drink all night, all the things that stress can bring about. We also have the choice of transferring that energy, which is like emoting, venting to another. And honestly, this is where most of us go at the very beginning of a change announcement because it's kind of our natural tendency. We want to vent. We want to talk about how terrible this is. Did you hear about this announcement? Can you believe this? And so it's moving that energy. But if you're only venting, if you're only transferring the emotional energy from one individual to another, it's like playing this game of hot potato, right? You're just moving that same energy all around. And it's not just one individual churning and moving into a downward spiral, it's the entire organization. The other choice that we can make is to transform that energy. That's like transforming anxiety into anticipation. It's the same energy, but it carries a different signature. It becomes fuel. The more that we
All right. So I wanted to jump in, and Jay, if you could, because I know what are your first thoughts?
I love how she talks about how it's never created or it can be conserved or it can be transferred. I completely agree with this. I've experienced a transfer of people's emotions more than people talk about, oh, I feel people's energy, but I don't really feel people's energy. I feel people's emotions. So I agree that it could definitely be transferred.
Okay. And for me, that stood out as well. One of the someone I listened to, Abraham Hicks, talks a great deal about this. And some of the terminology that she uses would be something called flying disc. And you can be on a low flying disc or a low energy flying disc, or you can be in a high. And she explains that someone can bring you either to that higher one if you allow it, or to that lower one again if you allow it. A lot of this is all about being, and the way she articulates it is understanding that your emotions are there to kind of give you signals about what's going on around you. And it shouldn't necessarily be ignored. I mean, this context, the way she's talking about it with an organization is new to me. I've never heard someone discuss it this way, but essentially in your own personal life, how if you're around the same, again, people on the same disc on a regular basis, how you'll find yourself there. So if you complain about life to the same people or vice versa, that's essentially the disc that relationship stays on. And something that might be good for you is to completely remove yourself from a lot of those discs, even if you're unaware as to why you're feeling something. And it's helped me so much because now if I'm feeling anxious about something, I don't necessarily question. I don't spend too much time trying to figure out why. I just first remove myself from that. And then I know that in time I'll have, the answers will come to me about why. So again, this context is really helpful because I know in organizations, you can find someone, if your leader isn't like an anxious leader, you're all of a sudden like wondering why you said it about feeling energy. It's just like, why am I anxious? Like nothing's wrong with me, but it's because you're picking up on the emotions of somebody else. And I've learned that I actually do that way more than I've ever been aware of. I used to think it was just my own thoughts, but essentially I'm picking up on something else, and then my mind takes that and starts creating its own thoughts that are not necessarily mine. This is really good. All right, guys. So if you're getting value from just the first half of this so far, drop it in the comments. We got about 2 more minutes to go. Let's jump back in.
we can be self-aware of these emotions, self-aware of the data. We can use it to inform us in a way that's productive, to help us evolve and to grow. And so as an individual, when you can become empowered to recognize those emotions, of course, allowing them to exist, but then knowing that you're in the seat of choice, you have the power to transform it. You're literally rewiring the chemistry of your brain. I think about our negative thoughts or the thoughts that inspire or nurture negative emotion as weeds that need plucked, and the soil that the weeds are in. Farmers remove weeds from soil, and it can actually inform them on what that soil is deficient of, what that soil needs more of. It's a really compelling analogy for me because it teaches me that if we can remove the negative thought from our mind and then explore it, understand it, it can inform us of our mental state. And then the more that we're informed of our mental state, what's lacking, what's deficient, what do we need to be nurturing, what should we be thinking, it can help us reap our intended crop or the way that we wish to experience that change. You're going to face an infinite amount of change in both your personal and your professional career. We can be empowered for that change to happen for us and not against us.
Get smarter, faster. Videos from the world's biggest.
Absolutely love this. Oh,
I love that.
okay.
I loved her analogy. I'm big on analogies, and I love that she used the analogy of the farmer who takes out the weeds to analyze what the soil needs in terms of nutrients. That is something I've never thought about doing with my negative thoughts. To think like, oh, what does this show that I need right now? What do I need to nurture? That's super powerful. So I think I'm actually going to incorporate that in my life.
No, that's definitely that also got popped out for me as well. And the way it shows up for me personally right now is understanding, and I've been able to dissociate the idea of it's being a subconscious thought, because if it's on my mind, then clearly it's a conscious thought. So my weed, if to call it that, was around poverty or not understanding what being wealthy or successful feels like. And so one of the things I've been doing now is focusing on just the feeling of abundance. What does it feel like to and I use the term abundance because it's not always, for everyone, the goal isn't wealth. It isn't, power or leadership or any of those things. You can have an abundant love life. You can have an abundant family life. So whatever that area is that you, like she said, needs nurturing, focusing on what that feeling is. And again, for me, it's what does it feel like to not have money, but feel wealthy? Like, what does it feel like to know money is going to come in and it's more than enough to do what you want? And staying there and then letting that feeling kind of cultivate the thoughts that I have. And I found that it's been very helpful for me to identify that that's something that I'm not going to say necessarily when I was younger, but at a point in my life earlier, I had a better grasp of that feeling. You know what I mean? I was doing financially well. So the external parameters kind of informed my thought pattern, but I realized it was actually more of the way I used to think. It was what was ultimately creating my reality for me. So I felt abundant, therefore my life reflected that. And then started going through some hardships and blah 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 blah, and then started internalizing a lot of that as a self-worth kind of thing. Oh, it's because of my lack of blah 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 that my life is this way. And that's where my weeds need to get I guess more farmed out. I guess I don't know what you call pulling weeds. But man, this was such a great video. I love how simple that was. Yeah, I love how she broke it down. I agree. I love the analogies as well. She made this really easy to understand.
So let us know how you think you'll use this in your lives. Tell us in the description box. We'd love to start a conversation around this. Do you think that recognizing your intelligence in the business world is even important? I certainly can recognize that it can show up. Just because you're in a business doesn't mean your emotions go away. I totally agree with her first sentiment.
Absolutely. And guys, don't forget to tune in next Monday. We'll have another one of these amazing videos. If you have any content that you're checking out right now that you guys want us to review, please email us or just tag us or post it in the chat here, or you can hit us up on Instagram. You can find us at the Say That channel. And guys, if you are not already subscribed, so here's our Instagram. If you are not already set up for our Patreon, guys, make sure you go check out the link in the description, or you can find us right here at www.patreon.com, Say That channel. And until then, guys, we'll be seeing you guys next Monday for another rundown. But till then, as always, remember, you deserve the good life. Say that. We'll see you guys.